Hello guys, in this After Effects animation tutorials, we're going to learn how to do this. In these tutorials, we're going to cover how to create these gradient cycles, and then we're going to learn how to use these gradient cycles to create a scene like this one. Then we're going to also learn how to create the bunny and then bring it into After Effects for character animation. So let's get started.
Please help him get to 10K subscribers this year.
Please, if you enjoy all the tutorials we have been bringing to you on this channel, support the channel by buying our membership. You can also give a super thank right below the video. That is just a way of appreciating what we are doing right here, and that is going to encourage me to do more. I highly appreciate whatever way you are able to support this channel with, even if it's just sharing the video. It is highly appreciated. So let's get started. So now in Adobe After Effects, we're going to click this icon right here to create a new composition. Feel free to use your own setting because any setting will do. Then you hit OK. On the top right here, select the ellipse tool. Then hold down Ctrl and Shift to draw a perfect icon like this. Align this to center. Right click on your shape layer, go to Layer Style and select Gradient Overlay. So we're going to make some changes to this gradient overlay color. So first we're going to edit the color. Select the bright side and make it a blue. So we're going to select the color code right here. Highlight them, Ctrl C on your keyboard to copy it to clipboard. We're going to need it to set the darker side of the blue. Select the dark side and then paste the color code right here and then set a darker side of the blue like this. Then you hit OK. So we're going to go here and change the style to radial from linear. We're going to add inner shadow from layer style again. Expand the inner shadow option. First, we're going to set the color. So we already copied the blue color into our clipboard. So paste it into the code right here and we'll select a bright side of it. We're going to set the blend mode to hard light. Let's make opacity 60. Let's make distance 95. Make size 80. I'm going to make noise 10. From the layer style, let's add satin. Collapse the inner shadow option and then expand the satin properties. We're going to also set the color to a lighter version of the blue. We're going to set blend mode to hard light. We're going to make opacity 80. Let's set distance to 10 and make size 40. So let's turn the invert off. Now select the shape layer, Ctrl Shift C on the keyboard to pre-compose it. We're going to name this gradient cycle. We pre-compose this so that we can manage the color at any time. We can go back in it and then change the single color and it will be applied to all the layers. Now let me show you how you can use the gradient cycle to build a scene like what we saw in the example. So first, we're going to make this a 3D layer. Now hit P on your keyboard and set the Z position to 1000. Then hit S on your keyboard and set the scale to 200. So we're going to move this to the right side of our screen. So we're going to duplicate this some couple of more times, like 3 more times, and then offset the Z position away from each other by 500. So Ctrl A on your keyboard to select all layers, hit U to collapse all the options. So we're going to go to the project manager window, select the gradient cycle, Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it. We're going to double click on this one, go into it, then change the gradient color settings. Now go to your main composition, drag and drop this gradient cycle tool into your timeline. So we're going to duplicate this 3 more times, then arrange it in this scene from a distance like this. You can add as much gradient cycles in a distance as much as you like. Feel free to be creative with this. So now after we have all this set up, we're going to right click on the timeline, go to new and create a new solid layer. So we're going to make comp size and then you hit OK. So make sure it is at the bottom of the layer hierarchy. We're going to add the effect called for gradient color. So we're going to select our colors from the scenes right here. So now select the top layer, then right click on your timeline, go to new and add a new camera. We're going to go by 24mm and then hit OK. So we're going to also right click, go to new and add a new null object. We're going to use this null object as a camera control. So we're going to select the camera and then make it a child of the camera control, and then select the camera control and make it a 3D layer. With your camera control still selected, hit P on the keyboard to reveal the position property. So we're going to move our time indicator to 0 and then set a keyframe for this. So we're going to move to 6 seconds forward in time and set the Z position to 1037. If you preview now, you have a simple, mild camera movement. So now I'm going to add a snowfall effect using the CC particles. So I'm not going to go into details with this because I already have a tutorials on the channel explaining exactly how to do that. You can check it on the card above. With the snow added, this is how it should look. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep the tutorial as short as possible, so you can go into that, pause this video, learn that, and then come back to continue with this. So now the next thing we're going to do is to right click on the timeline, go to new and still add a new solid layer. So we're going to call this galaxy, make comp size and then hit OK. So we're going to move it right above the sky layer. So we're going to add CC ball action. Make grid spacing 10, ball size 5, scatter 200. So let me change the resolution right here to full so that we can see the preview and what we are doing on the skies right here. So with this galaxy still selected, Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it. On this duplicate, we're going to make this grid spacing 50. And we're going to make the ball size 2. And we're going to make the twisted angle to 0 by -38. So this is what you have. There is a mistake I made. When creating this layer, you can make it white so that it will show the color on the sky. Currently, it is showing the black. We made it. There's a way to solve this. You can just add a fill color, then make it white. So just copy the fill color over to the next layer you duplicated. And this is what you have currently. So we're going to do one more thing. We're going to select both galaxies. Ctrl Shift C on the keyboard to duplicate it. We're going to call these galaxies. Make sure you move all attributes to the new composition and then you hit OK. So we're going to double click on this composition to go into it. This is what we got. So the first thing we're going to do is to add a camera. And we're going to add a camera controller. Make the camera a child of the camera controller. With the camera controller selected, move your time indicator to 0, then hit P on your keyboard to reveal the position properties. So we're going to set a keyframe at this point, and we're going to make the Z property value to -80. You can change this anytime if it is not moving exactly with the camera on the main composition. So we're going to go to 5 seconds forward in time. I'm going to change the Z position to 0. Then we're going to go to the end of the composition right here. Then we'll copy this first keyframe, Ctrl C on the keyboard to do that, and then paste it with Ctrl V on this place where the time indicator is located. So if you play now, this is what you got. We're going to select the top layer, galaxy layer right here. We're going to add a glow effect. So let's collapse all these options so that we can see what we are doing with our glow effect. So Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate the glow. So we're going to change the radius for this to 30. I'm going to Ctrl D again to duplicate it one more time. I'm going to change this to 60. So let's Ctrl D for this last time and duplicate it for the fourth time, and then change this radius to 120. So we're going to go back to the main composition now. See that reflects right here. So the reason why we have to pre-compose the galaxy layer is because the camera movement will have made this CC ball action react too fast. In a way, it will not be aligning with the camera movement right in the main composition. So we have to pre-compose it, create its own camera to create its own movement, because CC ball action is a 3D layer and it reacts to the camera movement. I mean, it is a 3D effect. Now it is time to bring in our character. So if you have the project file, then we're gonna go in right here and bring in this bunny, Easter bunny, drag and drop it into your project timeline. So we're going to select the composition option because this is going to create its own composition, and then import it as the document size. Hit OK. And that is going to add this to your timeline. So now we're going to make this a 3D layer. So we're going to need to hit P on the keyboard. Then we change the Z position to 1000. Then we're going to take it on the layer hierarchy and put it below the first gradient cycle. So we just need to manipulate the positioning. So now double click on the Easter bunny so that we can go into its own composition. Then we'll be exposed to all the layers. By the way, I created this in Adobe Illustrator. So if you have the project file, you should have access to this, and this is only available to my paid members. So if you want to get access, support the channel, then you can get access to this. So the first thing we're going to do now is to select all these and move their anchor point to the center. All individual layers are named accordingly. So we're going to set all the anchor point to its center. Select the right ear, the right hand. We'll move the anchor point there. And we're going to do the same thing with the left hand. And the head, the nose, and then the mouth. So we're going to select the mouth and the eyes and make it a child. And we're going to make it a child of the nose. And we're going to select the nose and the ears, the right and left ear. We're going to select them and make them a child of the head. And we're going to make the text a child of the placard. And now we are ready to animate. So first, we're going to start this animation at 2 seconds here. So we're going to move forward to about 4 seconds. Then we're going to select the placard, hit P on the keyboard to set a keyframe for the position. Ctrl-Shift-R to bring up the rotation properties and then set a keyframe for the rotation. Then we're going to go back to about 2 seconds right here. And then we're going to pull the position right below, down there. So if we come back here, we're going to set the rotation right here to -25. So let's move to about this place, and then we're going to pull up the position to this spot. And we're going to set the rotation to 10. So if we scrub now, this is what we have. So we're going to select all of this keyframe, hit F9 on your keyboard to easy ease. And then go into the graph editor to make your graph look like this. And this is what we're going to have. Beautiful. So we're going to also select the right hand and the left hand. We're going to come to the point where it hit the ground. Then we'll hit P on the keyboard to reveal the position property. We're going to set a keyframe for this. These are just simply basic character animation. You just need to know what you want before you start off this. This is only but a guide. You can use a different character, by the way. So now we come here. We'll come to this spot where this is like this. So we're going to move the position right below a bit like this so that it will not pass the placard positioning, because we're going to use this to cover that later so that it will seem as if it is coming from behind. So I'm going to lift it a bit right here. So but however, I'm going to select the one of the hand, which is the left side, and bring it a bit down because I have space there. Okay, so I'm going to come halfway here. So I'll pull this up, and I'll pull the second one up too. So I'll select all these keyframes, hit F9 on the keyboard to ease. And if you scrub through the timeline now, this is what you have. So basically what I'm going to do now is just to offset this a bit. So I'm going to select one of the hands right here and offset it forward, the keyframes forward. I want it to happen as if you do a organic. So now if you scrub now, this is what you have. Beautiful. This is what you have. Yes. So we're going to select the head now. Hit P on the keyboard, and we'll find right here, this point, we set a keyframe for the P. And we're going to also set a keyframe for the rotation. So we're going to come back to this spot where this is like this. So we're going to move the head a bit downward. Then we're going to rotate it. So we're going to go up right to this point and move it upward. So I'm going to set the rotation to the other direction, something somewhat like this. So we don't have to be perfect about this movement. So we're going to select all of these keyframes, hit F9 also to ease, and also edit the speed graph like you did before. So if you scrub now, this is what you got. Beautiful. So we're going to select the ears, of course. So at this point right here, we're going to select both ears. So we're going to hit R on the keyboard to set a keyframe for the rotation. So we're going to come right here. So we're going to set the rotation like you know as Barney would. So we're going to come to this point where it all began right here, and we set the rotation to close up so that we'll have them behind the placards. That is the plaque card, not placards. It's called plaque card. It's all right. So we're going to select all the keyframe, hit F9 on the keyboard to ease. When we come up right here, we're going to set additional secondary movement to have this move sideways, like as if the ears are flapping a little bit. We call this secondary movement. So we're going to just do a random rotation. So if you play now scrub, you see those secondary movement right there. So this is just the basic animation for the character. So you can add as many secondary movement as you want. You understand? So let's quickly animate the text. By the way, if you go to the main composition, you will see that that has also updated. So we're going to go back to the Easter Bunny comp again. So now we're going to have to trim all these layers that the animation starts later, and we'll trim it to where it all started. So like the ear, we're going to trim this to this point. That is because they don't need to show pyro to the time they start animating. Beautiful. This is okay like this. So another thing we're going to do now, we have to make it look like everything is coming from behind the placard and then later settle on top. So we're going to do some simple calculation right here. So we're going to scrub to the point where the entire head just came up to this point from here. So what we're going to do now is to select the placard and the text. We're going to Ctrl+Shift+C on the keyboard to duplicate it. No, first of all, let's do the placard because we're still going to add some effect to the text so that we can have it simple. So Ctrl+Shift+D on the keyboard to split that up. So meaning this first one had to go right way above on the layer hierarchy so that it will look like everything is coming from behind. You see that? But there is one more thing we can do. So we're going to scrub to this point where the hand is above. So we'll look for that hand and split it too. So Ctrl+Shift+D to split it. So we're going to take this one up above on the hierarchy again. So that we'll have it go organically without any messing up with the movement. Beautiful. That's sudden appearance at the front has disappeared. So now we have this under control. So let's deal with the text now. First, we're going to select the text and add a fill effect. So we're going to select the fill color and set it to this pink right here. Then we're going to go into the pink color and select a bit of a darker version to that pink, so that we'll have our Easter text a little bit close to the color we have there. So the next thing we're going to do, Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate this. So we're going to go in here and add a Vegas effect. So on the Vegas effect, we're going to change the segment to 1. I'm going to set the color to a darker pink like this. Then we'll just go in and change it a bit to a darker version, somewhat like this. So let's change the size, that is the width, to 3. Now this blend mode, we're going to change it to over transparent. So that is what we have. So we're going to select the bottom text layer. Then we're going to right click on it and add inner shadow layer style. Then let's expand the inner shadow option and play around with the settings. First, we're going to select it to be darker pink as well. So we're going to increase the size first of all. We're going to set the size to 10. And we can play around with the distance to 7. So this is okay. You can feel free to play around with what you have here. So select the top text layer. Select the top text layer, Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it. So what we're going to do now is to remove all these effects on it. Or you can just simply turn it off, then we'll have the white. Then we're going to add CC Bond. That is the CC Bond film. From this point, we're going to set the bond. We're going to set a keyframe for the bond. Then hit U on the keyboard to reveal the keyframe. So we're going to come right at this point and set the bond way up. So we're going to shift this a bit, this last keyframe, so that it's spaced out. So you see that color coming in, but there's thing I don't like here, the black burning effect here. I don't like it. So if you want that, you can just leave that. So, but I'm going to solve that by toggling the timeline right here and setting the blend mode of this layer to screen. That is going to take out the dark areas. So beautiful. So another thing we can do, if you look at it here, from here, you see this bond engraved kind of is showing too late. So we're gonna go here to the end of this. We're gonna select both of this layer, the text layer, Ctrl Shift D to duplicate it, then select these ones that you cut off, the initial ones, then move them up on top of the layer hierarchy, just above the placard. And we're gonna have this. So now we have our animation. If we go into the main composition, we can see all of that update. So the only thing I'm going to do now is to add drop shadow to this. So if you preview the entire thing now, this is what you have. If you look at the animation now, I just added a drop shadow to the hand, the head, so that the shadow will be on the placard. Then added a more secondary movement to the ear. I also moved the nose. You know, if you remember, we parented the eyes and the mouth to the nose. I just moved it just to create a kind of secondary movement and make it look organic. So that is all free to do. So feel free to add as much movement as you want. This is only but a guide. And this is how you can animate in Adobe After Effects using any motion graphics element or any Illustrator file to create a season animation like this. It is the Easter season. You can create a season animation like this or any other type of After Effects animation. You can also check this video right here. That is going to make you be a better animator. And also do not forget to leave me a super thank. That is going to keep me going. It is actually going to encourage me to do more on this channel. So until I see you again on the next one, my name is SSB Otaru for MotionDigit Studios.